Welcome to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about Absolutio from Navitus Parfums, so stay tuned for that. If you like the content, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Now, as you probably know, Navitus is a new brand that Steven from Redolessence is behind. So I, along with a lot of people, were pretty excited to try it out. There is 7 fragrances in all. I did not pick up all of them. I did just decide to purchase one of them, partially to support and partially because I was very curious to try this brand out. And the one I picked was Absolutio. Now, I'm probably going to be waiting for the rest, but I am certainly excited to try those out in the future. Now, I'm going to do a little demonstration of the presentation. So it does have this nice sleeve, comes off quite easily, and you get this nice box with the pull-out sleeve. Almost dropped it. So pull-out sleeve nicely sits in there. I can tell you, and I know a couple people have mentioned this on the Facebook pages, this is a very, very hefty, heavy bottle. So compared to a lot of the other brands and bottles that I have or have tried out, even 100 milliliter sizes, this is actually a very heavy, thick glass. So it is a quality production in my opinion. And I do actually really enjoy the presentation. I've heard the criticisms of the presentation, the similarities to Roja, but all in all, I still think that it is actually a very nice presentation, very well put together, and it is quite high quality. Also, I do want to point out that this sprayer is probably one of the best sprayers I have actually ever seen. It definitely rivals Dior, which is well known for their sprayers. Absolutely fantastic. It's easy to control the distribution and it sprays quite a nice cloud. Now, it also comes with this nice card. It tells you the notes as well as it tells you about the perfumer, which is nice. So the top notes, almond, saffron, and cinnamon. The heart notes, apple and toffee. The base notes, ambergris, oak moss, caramel, chocolate, driftwood, and musk. The perfumer for this one is Bertrand Duchefort, and I was excited to try this one because it is the definitely more gourmand sounding fragrance, and that is probably my favorite genre of fragrance. Now I have to say the opening is actually really, really well done, really gorgeous. I get a syrupy cherry. Cherry is not a listed note, but it is a nice syrupy cherry, and I get sweetness and the toffee mixed in there. I don't particularly pick up much apple in this fragrance at all, but the opening is very nice, dominated by this sweet toffee and cherry accord. Now, the saffron and the cinnamon come into play very, very quickly for this fragrance. After I'd say about 10 or 15 minutes, I start to get a strong domination of saffron. And other people have mentioned this, and I do agree that there is a somewhat of a similarity to Baccarat Rouge 540. Now, I did actually sit down and test these ones side by side because I was curious, because it definitely popped into my mind, and they do smell totally different. So the similarity, in my opinion, and where the similarity is coming from, is the heavy, heavy dose of saffron. And that's something that plays out through a lot of this fragrance, is the presence of that heavy saffron note. Now, one nice thing is, as you probably know, or you know if you watch my channel, I'm not a really big fan of Baccarat Rouge 540. To me, it smells a lot like a latex glove. It smells kind of like a dentist office, or it has some weird kind of medicinal Band-Aid vibe. And I don't get that from this fragrance, which is nice. It just, the saffron definitely brings about that kind of image in my mind of Baccarat Rouge 540. Now, I also in the opening do get the almond note. It's a dry almond that to me is actually quite a realistic almond. Maybe like somebody split an almond right in front of you, and that is essentially what you are smelling. So I get a very nice almond in there too. During the midpoint of this fragrance, definitely once that sweetness dies down, I find that this becomes dominated by the saffron and the cinnamon with some sweetness in there. But it is definitely one that I find on my skin, and when I smell it even in the air, it's definitely one that sort of vibes in and out of being sweet, a very sweet fragrance. I don't always pick up that toffee note, and I don't always pick up the caramel note, and a lot of times it will sort of transition into a spicy saffron heavy, woody kind of a fragrance. Now after that really candy-like opening, I find that there is a transitional period where there is an almond heavy saffron presence. And at this time I also get more of the woody accord. Now deeper into the dry down, the sweetness definitely starts to come out again, and I definitely get more of that caramel from the base. The toffee comes along once in a while to also poke its head around. And I actually find that it's interesting that at times I get a bit of a chewing gum vibe, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It actually smells very interesting and enjoyable. But I think something about the notes, especially that toffee, in my mind presents a sort of texture that I associate with chewing gum, and it does have this sort of sweet chewing gum texture smell, if that makes any sense. And so I do also find that that certainly is present in the fragrance. Now much deeper in the dry down, this one becomes a saffron fragrance, which is dominated more by the sweeter base notes. And I actually found that the caramel becomes quite strong later in this fragrance, but that isn't until far into the dry down. So there certainly is the sense in which this fragrance is a very heavy saffron fragrance, and I would actually put that as the main note, but there is a lot of other things going on. And the performance of this one is actually quite good. The first time I tried this out, I just sprayed it on my hand, didn't really give it a full wearing. I wanted to see what it smelled like, and I actually sprayed it on around 7 or 8 p.m. And after going to bed and waking up, and I woke up around, I want to say also 8 a.m., I could still smell it on my hand quite strongly. And in fact, it was still there until I took a shower. So this one, I would say it lasts about 12 hours, perhaps even longer. And it does have a pretty potent scent throughout its life. So this one has good performance all around, good longevity, good projection. It actually is, I think, stellar in that category for sure. Now overall, I first approached this fragrance, or I decided to buy this one because I love gourmand fragrances. They are probably my favorite category of fragrance, and so I was definitely attracted to this purchase because of the notes. Now I would say, based on what I've smelled, I wouldn't actually classify this as a gourmand per se. It's more of a semi-gourmand, as some people have classed it. And the reason for that being is, yes, there are certainly times where this is very gourmandy, especially right on that first spray, right in the opening. It does have a lot of very sweet gourmandy elements to it. But I think the balance of the driftwood and the musk really kind of take this away from being full gourmand. And there is certainly times where this does come off more as a woody fragrance to me that has saffron as well. And so personally, I wouldn't classify this as a full gourmand, definitely in the way that you think, or I think of gourmand fragrances, which are things like Italica, things like Black Phantom, Rose All Day. I just put this in a slightly different category, and that's not to say it's not good. I just think that if you're looking for a full-on gourmand of that variety, to me, this is not that fragrance. It is a really nice fragrance, and I think it's really well done. But it is, in my opinion, not a complete gourmand. It's more of a semi-gourmand because there is a balance between the non-gourmand and the gourmand elements kind of playing with each other. And they both take center stage at different periods of this fragrance. So it is complex, and it is noted to be a complex fragrance, and I can definitely appreciate that after spending some time with it. Anyways, guys, I think this is a solid release. You should definitely think about getting your nose on it. If you're near an Oswald's, I know you can sample it there. The Discovery set hopefully is going to come out soon. But that's it for this one, guys. Have any of you tried out Steven's new fragrances? If so, leave a comment down below telling me which one you've tried out or which ones and what you thought of them. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.